Hello everyone, Brian here with Product Impressions. Today we have a chance to check out what Sony described as a new party speaker. This is technically the XV500 wireless speaker. Summer is going to be coming right around the corner, so odds are this is set up for some outdoor parties. I know it's supposed to have basically a Bluetooth in, microphone in, guitar in, so you might be able to use this if you're, a solo performer gigging, as a separate monitor if you are playing with a larger group, or you could just set it up on a speaker stand and put it out in the yard for an outdoor party. So that's at least what I'm anticipating, just based on the description that was given to me. So let's go ahead and get this thing opened up, set up, and see how it works, what it's capable of doing. All right, everybody. I've had this set up for a little while, and I figured I would go over some aspects on how it sounds. So let's go ahead and play some music through my phone through the Bluetooth. This is at a fairly low level, and I must say the sound quality out of this thing is really good. It's very nice. It's not overly bassy, but also I don't have the ultra bass setting turned on. So if you're listening to more like dance hip hop kind of stuff, there is an ultra bass setting on here. You can turn that on and go ahead and play it out, have some really excellent sound coming out that way. Also, since this is meant to have a microphone and an instrument plugged into it, I figured an interesting test would be to try it out with a bass. It is specifying that it is meant for a guitar, but I figured to go ahead and try a bass in there, so let's see how that sounds. I will say it sounds really thin. From an instrument perspective, reproducing the sound of a bass, not great. And also I was hearing some vibration through the cones that are in here, so it's not doing a good job of reproducing the sound of bass when it comes to a live performance. But it is specifying on there that it wants to reproduce the sound of a guitar. So let's go ahead and try plugging in a guitar, as it seems to suggest it wants to have done. All right, now there is a guitar plugged in. Whenever it reconnects. Yep, there we go. All right, now I have a guitar plugged in here, so we're going to go ahead and see how this sounds. Once again, I would say that that sounds very thin and just very tinny, metallic. The EQ on my guitar is set to being basically level, so it should be a faithful reproduction. It sounds really thin, just not a great sound. There is also a plug in the back for a microphone. I actually can't test that because it's not a normal microphone plug. Microphones use XLR cables if you're actually using a real microphone. I mean, if you have a little thing that you would plug into your computer, maybe it would use a 1/4 inch plug, but 1/4 inches are typically reserved for instruments. So it is this style of plug that they have on there rather than the 3-pronged XLR plug for a microphone. So I can't even show you how that sounds. That's a little bit frustrating. After a week or so of testing this speaker, I must say that as a Bluetooth speaker, it is phenomenal. Like, the sound quality is great. You can get some amazing volume on this if that's what you're going for. But that's kind of where it ends. Sony seems to make a lot of claims about this being good for outdoor parties and live performance. And I can see where it would be good for kind of like a smaller outdoor gathering. But as far as a big party, and I don't know, there's a lot of questionable aspects about design choices and connections and everything else about this speaker. So let's go ahead and walk through some of those. First off, as you can see, it's up here on a desk, table, what have you. It's at a good height, as you would expect for a party. the controls aren't accessible when it's like this, because the controls are all on the very top of the device up here. So you can see we've got a power button, a mega bass option, control for the lights if you want to switch to audio in, USB, play, pause, volume up and down. So if you have this at a height that's going to be reasonable to use at a party, you can't reach all of these, or at least you can't see them. Like I can reach up here and find it, but I can't actually see it to control it. Let's see that. Oh, apparently that's a little magnet that's on here. Yeah, they do specify on here, if I can lift this up, it says expect about 25 hours of battery life. In my testing, I do have the lights on, but the volume tends to be fairly low while I'm testing these things because I'm largely using it indoors. So I'm trying not to blast myself out and cause hearing damage. So I'm using this at fairly low volumes over Bluetooth. I don't know where the hell they're getting that 25-hour battery life notion from. I guess maybe if the lights are off, it's at super low volume and the Bluetooth is turned off, so you're actually hardwired into it. That is the only way that I could see that being possible. Playing it at kind of low volume with the lights on over Bluetooth, I got about 8 hours before I started getting low battery verbal warnings off of this speaker. So if you are playing at a higher volume, I'm guessing you'll get 8 to 10 hours total. And it's going to start giving verbal warnings less than 8 hours in. So if you're having an outdoor party that is going to be less than 8 hours, great. Otherwise, you'd probably want to look somewhere else. Okay, some more considerations on this. The connections are all in a back case here. It fits in nicely. It is meant to be water resistant, so that it bodes well. I will say it fits in very securely here with the rubberized cover. You've got a line in for a microphone, a line in for a guitar. You can specify it's a guitar. You can put an echo on the voice. I will say the audio quality, as we already saw, going in through this guitar port is not great. It cuts out all of the low end. It hardly sounds like a guitar. It just sounds thin and tinny. It is not appealing. Microphone. They use a 1/4 inch input on here. Most microphones don't use that connection. If you have a crappy microphone, it might use that connection. Most of the time, it's going to be a microphone, like a really cheap one to connect to a computer that's going to go in through the headphone jack, which is an 1/8 inch plug. Or if you have a decent microphone, it's going to use an XLR cable, which also does not fit here. So if you are going to run a microphone in here, you're probably going to need an adapter. And you can put an echo on your voice for some reason if that's what you want to do. There is a control on here to flatten or sharpen the sound. I cannot figure out what that is for. I have to assume it's for connecting a crappy microphone and adjusting for crappy singing. As I've been playing music through this and tapping those buttons, I cannot tell it doing anything at all. You can connect through USB to the thing here, so you can run things over a USB port, run the audio that way, and keep a phone charged. I guess that's going to suck the battery even harder. And then let's see, you have a battery test button on here so that you don't have to open up the app on a smartphone in order to actually see the battery power on here. And finally, one last consideration for using this as an outdoor party speaker. Most of the time, you're going to want it up like this, you know, so that it's at head height, so that it's at the height you're going to be listening to. Otherwise, if you put this on the ground, it's going to be blasting at people's feet. That means you have to put it on a table because typically with live audio, you put things up on speaker stands. This just has a completely flat bottom. There is nowhere to put a speaker stand on here, so you have to put it on a table, put it on a chair, some way that is going to look really cheap and just, I don't know, not good. So I don't know why they couldn't be bothered to put a simple, like, 2-inch indentation. All it has to be is about that deep and a round space about that big. So that's all that they had to do, is put a simple indentation on the bottom so you could put it on top of a pole. Apparently that is not something that they considered. Since I did mention an app, they do have a Music Center app that you can go into to control this, and they also have one that's called the Fiestable. The Fiestable one will allow you to adjust the lighting, so if you want to only use particular colors, you only want warm lights, you only want cold lights, you can do that. You can change how the LEDs are going to function. Hooray! I guess that's a good thing. But through their Music Center app, you're supposed to be able to pair this with other Sony speakers. I have in the past had Sony speakers. I do have another one currently. It is kind of a desktop one, kind of a pill size, pill shape platform. There's a lot of kind of desktop size speakers that are basically just, they're referred to as like a pill format. It is Sony. It is supposed to work with that. It simply does not. I can connect that speaker to the Music Center app. I can connect this one to the Music Center app. I cannot pair the two together. I cannot set it up for stereo sound, as they say you're supposed to be able to. I cannot set it up to play from, the same thing on both speakers. If I'm connected to one, the app simply will not recognize the other one. I don't know if that means you have to buy multiple of the same speaker, even though it's supposed to work with all of them. This seems to be something that Sony has claimed to offer for years. I've had the other speaker for like 4 years. It's still perfectly good and functional. It did not work then. It still does not work now. So these are all serious considerations with this. They say it is great for live music and parties. It'll be great for casual parties outside. I would not set this up for anything that you want to look like nice. If you just want to have a big speaker on top of a picnic table, great. This could be good for you. If you are trying to run a business where you are doing entertainment for events, I would not get this. If you just want big, badass speaker, this will work for you. If you want it to connect to other things, not so much. So hopefully this has been of some help to you. Clearly, I have a lot of reservations about this. The retail is going to be $400 on this. At that price point, I imagine you can get plenty of other devices that are actually focused on live audio. To say that it has great sound quality, it does. But if you get a product from a company that's actually focused on live audio, sound quality is going to be there as well, and it will actually be built and designed for live audio. So yeah, this is going to be great if you want to have, a high-end speaker for a nice party, but not a big thing. I would not use this professionally. There's just too many weird design choices that they made here. I would not recommend this for anything along those lines. Yeah, hopefully this has been of some help to you. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments for me. I will do my best to answer whatever I can. Otherwise, like, share, subscribe. I will see you next time.